So let's move on to prediction now. So the prediction part is it's very similar to the training. Now we like the creation of model and all those things, but the difference here is we don't need to predict for batches of size 130, right? 120. No, we don't need one prediction for 120 sequences at the same time. We need prediction for only one sequence, right? So that's why we start off with doing batch sizes 1, and then we do create a model. It's exactly the same function that we used in the training section. So the same layers, same numbers, everything except the batch size is different. Everything else is ditto same. So even the vocab size is same, since it's the same vocab size variable that we assigned in earlier stages. So we are going to use the same thing here also. And the next couple of steps are also important. In these two steps, if you notice, I am actually getting the weights from the old model, right? Now this model is basically the old model, and if you notice here, I've created a new model. This is a new model. So I'm taking the weights from the old model, and then setting that weights to the new model basically. So since the number of neurons are exactly the same in all the layers, because of the entire model is exactly the same structure, I can just take the weights and just load it here, right? So since the weights are already trained for each of the neurons, the weight values are same, so it helps in getting that here without any problems. So we've loaded it here. So the point is that the whole point of training is to optimize the weights in each neuron layer, right? So you get the most optimal once you train. You train well. You get the optimal weights, and that weight has to be reused. That's the whole idea of doing the prediction. So right now, what we have done here is we took that weights and reloaded to the new model, and finally we are creating a building the model. So this is how we build. You give the model name .build, and also you mention the shape. So this one is also make sure that you have the batch size 1. So that is why you are creating it with the batch size 1, right? So that's how you recreate the model. Now let's move on to the actual predictions process. I have a function here which is actually going to generate a text for me. So this generate text function, if you notice, it takes a couple of things. It takes the model, so we just created one step above the previous step, and then it takes a start seed. Start seed is nothing but you give an couple of characters to start with and ask it to predict the rest of the characters. Say for example, I'm just gonna feed a few lines in the poem and ask it to predict the last line in that poem, right? Something like that. So as expecting to finish the poem for me, finish that lines for me. So something like that, and then we move on to we have something called gen size, which is by default assigned as 100, but you can override it depending on it, and the temperature value. Temperature value is something we can look in detail. It's not that important. It's up to us to use that. So temperature value basically helps us to pick the most obvious prediction, right? Most highest probability prediction, or something the totally reverse, the lowest probability prediction. The lowest probability prediction, in the sense, it's most surprising one. No one would expect that thing to be there. So something, there might be some scenarios people might need it for. So that's also there and there, right? So that's how we start. And so this is just the variable assignment. We just take gen size and assign to num generate. So the variable is now number to generate, num generate, right? And then we have we take the start seed, right? Like I said, maybe first 3 lines in my poem, I'm just gonna convert it into a sequence of numbers. So this is the method that we use to convert it into sequence of numbers, right? And then once you have that input thing, and we need to expand the dimensions before we feed it into the your data, like your prediction model. So that's what it is doing. So the exact opposite of squeeze. So TF dot expand dimensions actually increase the dimension. Squeeze will basically reverse it. So you'll probably see, once prediction is done, they'll reduce the dimension. So the TensorFlow expects it to be in certain dimension, your input sequence to be in certain dimension. So it is mandatory that we do this step. And once you are done, then you create a temporary storage space for your generated sequences, right? And this is also important. It helps to reset the states of the model internally to maintain the the prediction technique better. So reset states, just standard process. Just reset it, and then we start with the prediction. So since we have, let's assume that we call for 100 predictions, right? So what we need to do is, for every, we predict one step at a time, and then add the prediction of what you have predicted at that point in time to the input seed, start seed, and then again go back and do another prediction with what we have. So say for example, I have given 10 characters as input seed. In the first step, in the first loop, it will predict my 11th character, and now I have 11 characters, and in the next iteration I will take that first 10 input values, add that 11th predicted value, make it that's 11 characters as my input seed, and then do another prediction, right? So that's how we keep going. That's what we are doing here. So if you see, so this is where we actual prediction is happening. So you just have to call the new model and predict a function and give the input eval, and you get a bunch of predictions, right? So the bunch of predictions basically will be in 3 dimensions. Like we said, like we saw earlier, you will have the batch, then your number of sequences, and each sequences will have 73 different potential outputs and the corresponding probabilities. So that's how it will be. So it will be 3 dimensions. So I'm gonna remove the batch dimension, I think. So batch dimension shape, we know there is only one batch, that there is a batch with one sequence. Batch size is 1, so there is no point in having that there. That batch size is 1, so you could just kind of squeeze it and remove the batch dimension here, right? Similarly, here exactly the reverse of what we did here to expand dimensions. So here we are adding batch dimension here to the input eval, because we have one sequence, and we don't have the batch dimension here added, right? So before you predict or train, you always need to have a batch dimension added. So we are adding the batch dimension here, and now after the prediction, we are doing a TF squeeze, which is the reverse of removing the batch dimension. So the reason there is that dimension doesn't have a significance here is, we know the batch dimension is 1, but our batch size is 1. That is, there is only one sequence in the predicted output, right? So that's why it's not important. And the predictions are basically your logits. So logits is basically it's not probability per se, because probability values will always be between 0 and 1, right? But logits value can vary between minus infinity to infinity. But logits, how the logits work is, so the higher the value, the better the possibility, or chances of that prediction. So it's similar to how we do probability between 0 and 1. 1 is the highest probability and 0 is the lowest probability, right? Similarly, this value can vary between minus infinity to infinity. That's the basic difference, to give you a better understanding. And if you divide it by temperature, right, obviously, if you divide it by 1, it's going to remain the same, and if you divide it by 0.5, then or 0.1, then the actual logits value will get reversed, because now smaller values now become bigger values, and bigger values become now smaller values, right? So that's the idea here. So but by default it's 1, so we are not going to worry about what this line, impact of this line, even without this, it's going to still behave the same way, because the temperature value by default is 1 in our case, right? So let's not worry about it. So now so now we have one sequence, right? We know that batch size is 1. That means there is only one sequence that is actually uh, there, and there is, we have done one iteration of prediction, right? For every iteration of prediction, say for example, you've given your first 3 lines in a poem, and now it has predicted the first character in the 4th line. So that's what so far it has done. So the first character in the 4th line of the poem could be 73 different possibilities, right? So each is represented as a logic, and we need to pick one out of that 73. So how do we pick that one? So there could be different ways to do it. So this TF random categorical basically is randomly picking one among that 73 values that it has now given as a prediction. So obviously, the some most use cases would need us to pick the highest logics or apply um, uh, apply a softmax function or sigmoid function to squish that value between 0 and 1 and pick the highest probability, right? So something above 0.5, above 0.9 is what we need in most cases, but this is just for demo purposes. So this is just randomly picking one sample, and then that becomes your predicted ID, right? So that number, because obviously now we are dealing in numbers, before we convert it back to your original characters. So now it's a predicted ID. So you pick one out of the 73 randomly, now in this case, and then it becomes a predicted ID. So so that's all we need to do. So what we need to do is now convert that integer to vocabulary. That means we are passing that ID to this particular array and getting the corresponding character in that particular position. Say for example, if this is 30, we are getting the character in the 30th position in that array. So that would probably some character, probably A, B, Z, K, L, M, and we don't know what it is. You can go back and refer. So basically, you transform it back to the character letter, right? So now that the text is generated, right? Finally, once all the iterations are complete, you join it with the start seed. Join this list with the start seed, and you get the result, right? So but what does this line do? So we skipped it, right? You probably noticed that we skipped it, but what does this do is basically, now that you have a new predicted ID, you want to add that predicted ID to the end of your start seed, or the input eval that is used in this iteration. So now for the next iteration, your start seed or your input value would be the first 3 lines in the poem plus the first character in the last line. So that becomes your input, and your output will be your second character in the the 4th line of the poem. So this keeps happening until how many iterations you want to generate, right? So that is what is the whole idea here. So that keeps happening, and so this expand dimension again adds this particular predicted ID to your to your existing input eval, right? So that's pretty much it. So this keeps happening how many number of times you want it, uh, and so this is how your output looks like, right? So here I given want to predict 1000 characters, so I'm just gonna give the start seed as something, because something relevant probably, right? So I just gave this value, and it's I'm just gonna try and predict something, and it's gonna keep creating. So if you see, it is able to maintain the structure of the sentence, right? Christmas and another gentleman, then it's put a comma there, and then it's for absolute path at bull pointing. So most of these words are without typos, and some of them are has typos. I was used to be where any importance to finds, right? So if you see, most of the sentences are well formed. It knows how a word should be. Then there should be a space between words, and there should be a comma at different places. and it understands how to open codes, close codes, a lot of things. It's interesting to see, even with the limited number of training, it is able to do really well. So let's try something different. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. What it's able to come up with. So since this is a Sherlock Holmes story, right? So it's saying Sherlock Holmes is a detective without eye, waiting it on those Zoom columns, see in it, having only finally to accept a mile of project, some blah blah blah. Uh, so even with limited training, what it did is really impressive. So if you go back and look through that original document, you won't see a sentence like this at all, or even a sentence that is remotely similar to this. This is something that it's completely came up with on its own, which is actually very impressive. And when once you train it with a lot more data, it will become a lot more smart, and that's how the chatbots and all those things is able to interpret the human language into the way it can respond to humans. So those things are basically based on something called a sequence to sequence translation. So it will have an LSTM model similar to this one on the one side, and that is, it will translate the question to answer with another LSTM model as in the answer section. So this is the building block of that model, where with whatever it is, if a human is able to discuss some points with a user, if a human is able to discuss something with the machine and the machine is able to respond, this is what the building block of it is, one of the building blocks of it. So this along with another LSTM model used as encoding and decoding builds a machine language translation model, or or a question answer thing, or probably your Google Assistant, language translator. Everything is built based on this. So that is something that is very exciting to learn more about this, right? So there is a couple of things we can do here. First thing I would do is, rather than randomly picking some predictions here, I would be interested to know if I could pick the best prediction. So when I say best prediction, the predictions with highest probability. So right now it's randomly picking, right? So, and even with random predictions, it's able to make some reasonable predictions. But what if we are picking the best predictions for at every during every step, right? So that would be much better. So that's something I would definitely be trying out. And a few other things that I wanted to try is try with different optimizers, and uh, the loss functions, obviously, and then train it for a few more iterations, more than 100. So it's definitely increasing. So it will still go down if we obviously, if you see here, this it can still be optimized if you do a few more iterations, right? And those are things which we can definitely try. So, and definitely I would be interested to try it out, and I'll probably add a couple of more videos after this, once every time I add something more. And one last thing that I would like to do is, also, now we are doing characters, one character at a time. So I would like to see do something with one word at a time, right? So say for example, so rather than doing giving the sequence of characters, I would like to see something like a sequence of words, something like this, right? So give the sequence of words as inputs and see how it's able to understand the relationship between words rather than characters, and then produce words. So that's something we could try also. So something that I would be interested to study. So to summarize, so we have done some couple of steps here, like 6 steps to be precise. You pre-process, you you encode, and then you create sequences, generate batches, then train, then test, right? Train obviously, and then you get to predict, right? So these 6 steps that you need to be aware how to build a model. That's all I have for now. So see you in another video. So bye bye, ciao.